Hello, this is Yogeshwar 7000 again, and I'm back on my series on Saturn transits 2017. And today we will be talking about the Saturn transits for Sagittarius moon sign people. Now, we've already covered until we've gone through from Aries through Scorpio, so we've covered until Scorpio moon sign, and today we'll be talking about Sagittarius moon sign, as you can see on the screen. Now on the screen you see number 9, which represents the zodiac sign of Sagittarius, placed in the birth chart as the ascendant. So please do not get confused by this, because this video is not for people who are Sagittarius ascendant people. This video is for people whose moon sign is Sagittarius, meaning which, in case your moon was placed at the time of your birth in Sagittarius zodiac sign, then you're Sagittarius moon sign person. Or look at your natal birth chart, and if you see that moon is placed where number 9 is written, then you're Sagittarius moon sign. Okay, so this video is for Sagittarius moon sign. Why? Because the ancient scriptures say that Gochara, or transit, it is called, as it's called in English, Gochara is a Sanskrit word for transit, should be taken into consideration from the moon sign and not from the ascendant. However, there are certain ancient scriptures who describe the impact of Saturn transits or any other planet from the ascendant as well, but the rules are completely different, so please do not get confused. This video is for people in whose birth chart moon is placed in Sagittarius at the time of their birth, or moon is placed where number 9 is written. Okay, so unfortunately this transit is not going to be much of a relief. Why? Because as we know that there is something called a 7.5 years, a dreaded Sade Sati period of Saturn, and that happens when Saturn transits 12th from the moon sign, on the moon sign, and second from the moon sign. So Saturn stays in one zodiac sign for approximately 2.5 years. So this entire 7.5 years period, which happens when Saturn comes 12th from the moon sign, transits the moon sign, and second from the moon sign, approximately 2.5 years each, adding up to 7.5 years, is considered to be an extremely tough time from the point of view of the ancient scriptures. And of course, as per the experiences of astrologers as well. I know there are certain astrologers who keep saying and repeating in their videos that, well, there's nothing called a Sade Sati or a 7.5 years period, but that's not true. Sade Sati is a most dreaded period, and just happens, and it does affect a person very, very adversely. So far, Sagittarius moon sign people have had this trouble since the last 2.5 years, when Saturn went into Scorpio from Libra, which started their Sade Sati, or the 7.5 years period. So it must have been very challenging for them from the point of view of heavy expenditures and pretty much all aspects of their life. Problems in their family, problems with children, problems with spouse, problem with career, and problem with getting recognition at the place of their work. So pretty much it has been troubling you, and unfortunately this 7.5 years period continues into another 2.5 years. As a matter of fact, the impact is going to be 3 years. Why? Because Saturn is transiting into the zodiac sign of Sagittarius on January the 26th, 2017, and it's gonna go back and forth during the year from Scorpio into Sagittarius, and then Sagittarius into Scorpio, and then from Scorpio back to Sagittarius. So what happens is it increases the amount of time where Saturn is going to be impacting Sagittarius moon sign people. Now, that doesn't mean that the effects are going to be same when Saturn jumps from Sagittarius to Scorpio or Scorpio to Sagittarius. The effects are going to be different once it stays in Scorpio or Sagittarius. But overall, the effect is going to be impacting Sagittarius moon sign for approximately 3 years. Why? Because finally, when Saturn moves or transits into Capricorn, it will be January of 2020, which is exactly 3 years from January of 2017. So the impact for Sagittarius moon sign, or almost all, not almost all the moon sign people, will be slightly more this time because of the effect of Saturn jumping from Scorpio into Sagittarius and going back to Scorpio and then coming back to Sagittarius. Okay, so this is an important transit, and like I said, for Sagittarius moon sign people, it is also not going to be a positive effect because you're still under the influence of that Sade Sati, or the Saturn 7.5 years inauspicious or dreaded period, as we all call it. So in this transit, when Saturn transits into Sagittarius, for Sagittarius moon sign people, Saturn is going to be transiting exactly on top of their moon sign, meaning which the most impact is going to be felt on the moon. Meaning which, what is moon? Moon is the mind. So the most impact is going to be felt when you feel in the next 2.5, 3 years, you're going to feel extreme mental anxiety, and that is a very troublesome thing, because everything is the mind. You know, if you're positive in your mind, if you're confident in your mind, many of the problems go away. But unfortunately, Saturn is going to be transiting on top of your moon sign, which will make your mind restless and full of anxiety. So the remedy for this is, I don't like to give astrological remedies because it has to be very carefully examined based on your birth chart. So no general remedies, but generally what I'll recommend is, you know, try to stay calm, try to do a little more yoga, try to do meditation. Why? Because meditation is going to strengthen your mind and calm you down. Okay, so that's extremely important. Pranayama, anything which can calm your mind, is going to be extremely beneficial. Okay, and like I said, you know, almost all aspects of your life are going to be severely impacted during this Sade Sati period. I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm just trying to warn you so that you can become a little more careful in your dealings. Do not try to get into any kind of a new business venture. That's very, very important for people who are running or people who are with Sagittarius moon sign people. Okay, that is extremely, extremely dangerous to get into any kind of a business venture in this next 2.5, 3 years. Okay, and generally for 7.5 period, it is not good. But then specifically for Sagittarius moon sign people, be very, very careful. Also, the relationship with your spouse needs to be very carefully handled. Try to maintain cordial relationship with your spouse and the relatives which are, you know, through your spouse, your mother-in-law, your father-in-law. You know, anything which is related to the spouse has to be dealt with very, very carefully. And you know, you should be very sensitive to your spouse's emotions as well. Try to deal with him or her very carefully. And this period, of course, is also not a great time for getting married. Okay, now of course you have to get married, and you know, you're ready to get married and you've set out a good time and muhurta for it, and go for it. But generally, if it can be avoided and it can be, you know, postponed, generally, you know, Sade Sati period is not a good period for marriages. And also specifically when Saturn is transiting your moon sign, that's really, really not a good period for getting married. So be very careful on that. Dealings with your children and other family members also has to be handled very sensitively. You know, don't try to get into a confrontation, especially with the spouse. That's very important. And of course, the other members or other family members who are coming through you, through your spouse, like your in-laws, has to be handled very carefully. And like I said, you know, even with children and other family members, this is going to be a slightly tough period. Money matters have to be handled carefully in this period of Sagittarius moon sign, for Sagittarius moon sign people. Also, for matters which are related to your own health. Okay, that is very important. Well, I've talked about mental health because Saturn is transiting over the moon, but also once the moon goes a little afflicted, then it starts to affect the body as well. So try to eat well, try to go take short vacations where you can breathe some fresh air, try to relax yourself, try not to overwork yourself at work and get stressed out, because work is going to be stressful during this period, definitely. And also at the same time, you may have some problems related to work with your colleagues and your relationship with your bosses, or not getting enough recognition at your place of work. So be very careful, try to stay calm, do not try to change jobs during this transiting period when Saturn transits over Sagittarius moon sign. People, try to stay put wherever you are, stay calm, do not be very ambitious, and try to maintain cordial relationships with your colleagues and your bosses, etc. So having said that, I'm not trying to threaten you, I'm not threatened, but I'm not trying to scare you or anything, but I'm just trying to warn you that you have to be careful. Now, having said that, you also have to look at other transits which are happening in your moon sign. And those transits, very importantly, are like Jupiter and other planets which stay in one zodiac sign for a long time, like Rahu and Ketu, etc. Other planets jump a little faster, but Jupiter, Rahu, Ketu stay for a long time. So look at those transits. If those transits are beneficial for you, so what happens is then many of the inauspicious effects of this Saturn transit over Sagittarius moon sign can be balanced to some effect. So it's all not negative news. Normally, we have other planets which may be benefiting us. So many of these negative things or inauspicious effects which I've told for Sagittarius moon sign people can be balanced to a great extent. That's one. Then look at your dashas, which are the operating periods of other planets, and those dashas are positive. Generally, I've seen, when the transits are negative, then the dashas are positive, and when the transits are positive, sometimes the dashas can be negative. So God has a way, has a mechanism to balance things out for us. So don't get overly worried because your dashas or operating periods may be positive for you. So many of the inauspicious effects of this Sagittarius moon sign transit of Saturn over Sagittarius moon sign can be balanced or nullified to a great extent. So if the operating periods dashas are good, so many of the inauspicious effects of this Saturn transit over Sagittarius moon sign can be nullified. So that's another good news. But generally, try to play it safe during this next 2.5-3 years, and I think you should be fine. So hopefully you did enjoy this little video on Saturn transit 2017 over Sagittarius moon sign people. And in the meanwhile, I will recommend subscribe to my channel and check out my website. There is a link below, and I will see you with an interesting topic on Vedic astrology very soon. Goodbye.